Hello everybody, I'm Jackie K. Cooper, and this is my entertainment rundown today featuring two movies you might have missed. The first one is a film called The Farewell. Now, this film arrived a month or so ago. It stars Awkwafina, who is a Chinese heritage, and she's a comic. She was in Ocean's 8. Sandra Bullock, I think she was in that film, and she was in Crazy Rich Asians. But now this is the first time I've seen her in a dramatic role, and she plays a young woman of Chinese heritage, living in New York. Her name's Billy, and she's kind of struggling to find herself. She hadn't really got a great job. She sometimes depended on her parents for her finances, so she's close to her family, especially to her grandmother, who she calls Nai Nai, and who is played by Shuzhen Zhao. And this movie, I need to say right here, is probably 98% of it's in Mandarin Chinese with subtitles, and then 2% English. But it's about this woman, Billy, and her relationship with her grandmother, who still lives in China. And she finds out that her cousin is getting married, and her parents are going over to China for the wedding. And they tell her that, she's not expected to go, that she has too much going on, getting her life straightened out. But then she finds out that the reason everybody is gathering for the funeral is that her grandmother is dying. She has been diagnosed with cancer, and that but they are not going to let her know, and everybody wants to gather to say goodbye to her, and using the wedding as the pretense for everybody gathering together. So, of course, the Billy, played by Awkwafina, does end up going, and it's all about this ruse that the family perpetrates on the grandmother, that she's in good health, that all the tests came back okay, but then each one has their own personal relationship with her, and it's kind of tearing them apart with the knowledge of her illness. But this movie just, to me, never got into the characters. You never got any development of the characters. They were the way they were when you meet them. They were that way that they were when it ended. I thought it would be better than that. I kept hearing great things about Awkwafina's performance, which was true. She does a great job in this movie, but I just thought that there would be more substance to the character. There'd be more plot development. It's based on a true story, and it kind of, the conflict is, when someone is ill, do you let them know they're ill, or do you just let them until it gets to the point where you can't deny it any longer, but you don't tell them in advance? You want them to have a quality of life in that remaining period, versus telling the person, making them aware so they can get all their affairs in order and make relationships mending, etc. So those are the two conflicts of the movie. But it's just a slice of life. It's just like, okay, this is what we're talking about. Here it is. We start at point A, we're going to go to point B, and that's all it's going to be. Not necessarily that much resolution to the characters, and I want it to be more. It's rated PG because there is some profanity in the film. I scored it 5 out of 10. I thought it was going to be much, much better than this, but people had talked about, this is one of the best movies of the year. I'm sorry, it wasn't for me. And it wasn't the fact that it had subtitles. I can read subtitles. That doesn't bother me. I get into it. But it was just that nothing ever went anywhere as far as I was concerned. I wanted to see some evolution of the characters. So 5 out of 10 for me. Another movie that you might have missed has just been released. It's called Red Handed. The reason I say you might have missed it is because it's not getting a lot of publicity and not a lot of play. This is a film that is produced by Nick Cassavetes. And the reason I mention that is Nick Cassavetes is the son of the brilliant actor and director John Cassavetes and the magnificent actress Gena Rowlands. I mean, he got two pedigreed parents right there. But he produced this, and his name is on it. And then, I saw somebody call it a Nick Cassavetes film. And Nick Cassavetes was the one who directed The Notebook, one of the most beloved movies in the history of cinema, I guess, based on Nicholas Sparks' book. But so when I saw Nick Cassavetes, I thought, oh, that kind of perked me up, even though he only produced it. It's directed by a man named Frank Peluso. But I did, have expectations. Also, it has Michael Biehn, who was in the Terminator movies, original, so I was familiar with him. Michael Madsen, who's been around a long time, is, a celebrated actor. People know of him. He and his sister Virginia Madsen are both actors in Hollywood. And I thought, well, if he's in it, and Michael Bihn's in it, and Nick Cassavetes produced it, then this must be good. And the little bit of information I had was it was about, abduction of a child by a cult. And as much as I'm not real big on anything that depicts violence toward children, that did pique my interest because it doesn't get that much of an aspect, shown on screen. The rest of the cast includes Ryan Carnes, who's in daytime television, I think, and Christian Madsen, who I understand is Michael Madsen's son, either son or nephew. I think he's son. So again, the cast really drew me in. But then I watched this movie, and it's about a man who dies, and his three sons gather to take his ashes back to a river. And then there's a background of child abductions in this area. And the acting was just average. I mean, there was nothing that was outstanding in the cast as far as any portrayals were given. And the storyline, even though it was muddled, you weren't quite sure of what happened when and why and where. And then just the cinematography of the thing was not good. Scenes did not lead into scenes in a cohesive way. And in one I was watching, I didn't go back and rewatch it to see this, but it was a scene that took place in the afternoon, and then the next thing you look, it was nighttime, and then the next part of the scene, it was afternoon again. I thought, wait a minute, how did that occur? And then it was, not raining in the first part of the scene. Then when it got to the night, it looked like night, there was rain, and then it flashed back to the afternoon, there was no rain. So things like that get on my nerves. It really drive me crazy, and it did that in this movie completely. So I was not impressed. I hate that Nick Cassavetes' name is even associated with this film because it does not live up to the standards that he has created. It's not rated, but it would probably be an R for violence, nudity, and profanity. So remember all of that. Again, it's just opening up. So this is your first chances to see it. Maybe you'll be drawn to it because of the cast, but as for me, I rated it 3 out of 10. That's not a good score for me. I really thought this was going to be something that it was not. So that's disappointing for me. And if you don't want to disappoint me, reach down there and hit that subscribe button because we've got lots of movie reviews coming up in the future, and I don't want you to miss any of them. But for today, this has been Jackie K. Cooper's Entertainment Rundown featuring reviews of The Farewell and Red-Handed, movies you might have missed.